Welcome to Nightmare 365.
This is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
There's tons of unsolved mysteries out there. Witches still exist.
What about monsters?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Bigfoot is not out there.
Bigfoot is definitely out there. UFOs are real.
UFOs might be real.
Do you believe in conspiracies?
I consider myself a conspiracy theorist.
I want to believe in all these case files.
Trust no one. The government lies to you.
We're just two brothers exploring the unexplained, mysterious, and spookiness that lives among us. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the center of weirdness known as Nightmare 365 Radio. I'm Matt.
I'm Greg.
And today, Case File 60. I feel like we haven't been in the studio doing a podcast in a while. It's been Mischief Night.
Yeah, Mischief Night was the last night, yeah.
Yeah, the last podcast that we actually did. We fixed some technical difficulties that we had for our YouTube channel. That kind of pissed me off, but
yeah,
what are you going to do? That kind of stuff happens. Today, on Case File 60, we're opening up the Eerie Vault. And the Eerie Vault.
Opening it up.
Yeah, do we have that drop? You were supposed to hit that drop, son. We didn't hit it. But we're opening up the Eerie Vault. We're going to talk about crop circles.
Crop circles.
This one is interesting. I used to be really fascinated with crop circles.
What do you mean you used to be?
I'm not so much anymore. I don't know. Like back in the day, I was fascinated. I watched like tons of like documentaries and everything.
You watch Signs.
Yeah, I don't know why you love Signs so much.
It was a good movie.
I like Signs, but I don't know. It's not one of my, I guess, all-time favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was, I don't know, especially around here, that's when it became like really big, the crop circles.
What, Signs?
Yeah, when Signs came out.
When did that come out? Like in the early 2000s?
2000, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember going to the movies, watching Signs, and then coming back, and I was home alone. I don't know where you and everybody else went, but I just remember it was like a thunderstorm. I was like kind of freaked out.
Why?
Because I was alone, just saw Signs. I was like, all right, if aliens...
It's raining out, so they
if aliens come and get me, I'm all alone. There's nothing I could do.
You're screwed.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
Well, then what? The next week, right? After
all I wanted to do was like, yo, dude, run. Get out of here.
The next week, right? Like, there was that's when the crop circle came in. What? It was a Lincroft?
No, it was actually a couple of years ago. Yeah, we're going to talk about it on the show. So let's kick this off. And before we get started, which I'll say it at the end of the program, it is the Christmas season. It is the season to be merry. And we're giving 25% off on our shop. So with the tees Greg wearing, you can get it on our shop by using the code MERRY25.
Very soft. I like this.
Save 25% at our shop in Nightmare 365. That's where you're going to find all of our information. And I also want to tell everybody too, because I think this is a good, some people do call in, but use our phone number, 732-660-8893, and share your stories. Because what I want to do for like the new year and getting into like the podcast
is share more stories.
Yeah, share more stories, because we do get some. Some are a little, like the quality stinks, so we can't share them. Sometimes like it's just too long.
Yeah.
I don't know, like maybe with our new studio, we're getting a new studio soon, we'll have a setup where we can do almost like a live call-in.
We just have to set it up like we can call them back and then maybe actually just talk to them about this. Because some of these stories I want to actually ask follow-up questions to.
What, in terms of like some people that call and say these stories?
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough if they don't leave a callback number, or would you really call back people?
Yes.
All right. I mean, emails, it's nice. You can go back and forth even on social media, so that would be a good thing. But let's jump into Case File 60, Crop Circles. So, dude, just thinking about crop circles and like the backstory on some of it, I'll pull up some information because I thought just like the Wikipedia has a lot of information. I read some articles from like Live Science. There was another, website that I found which links up into our December 18th Weekday Weird.
Correct.
Because we do have a lot of Australia listeners from our numbers that we recently found out. But there was a case from 1966, the Tully Flying Saucer Nest incident. And it's an interesting one. There was only really one eyewitness that came forward about this, but it does play into the crop circles, which we'll talk about. with two gentlemen actually hoaxing crop circles.
Mm-hmm.
So this story from Australia is kind of originating crop circles, which is fascinating. And this article that I did find on, it's called theozfiles.blogspot.com. It has the whole story if you want to read it. It's way too long, but
It is very long.
we'll go more into this story, even though we'll touch on it in this episode. We'll go into depth on this story itself just for our weekday purpose, weekday weird. So take a listen to that. That'll be on December 18th. But the one that really hits home to me that I found, when I do research, going, and we do get a lot of, and this is just like doing any show, doing research.
Yeah.
We try to do as much research as possible. That's why we put out like podcasts every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, because it gives us some time to read articles, watch documentaries, formulate our opinions. And they're really just our opinions. I mean, it's just from stuff that we found on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And this one that I found, because I wanted to find a story that really hit home to me,
Correct.
with crop circles. And there was an incident in Colts Neck, Monmouth County, which is right next door to us,
Correct.
in 2000. It was August 16th, 2002.
So Signs did come out in 2002. That's why.
Oh, you put that up?
I just looked it up.
All right, yeah. So this one comes from the Independent Crop Circle Researchers Association, and they have like a big database.
ICCRA.
Yeah, and there's a couple other ones which I didn't know like how far back it goes. There's one from 1957, 1964, 1970, 1992, 96, 97. The list goes on and on. 2003 of all stuff that happened in our home state, which I didn't realize like crop circles happen this much, because I remember when the signs came out, and then this crop circle, and then this is where like I guess you could say I was at the height
Of the crop
of the
circle
crop circles.
mania.
Yeah, and I remember like 2002 driving.
Didn't you go there?
I tried to find this where like this was, because thinking nowadays you could find it real easily.
Sure.
All I had to do is type in crop circle Monmouth County, New Jersey, and then this article came up.
Yeah, back
right?
then you really couldn't do that.
Back then it was like, all right, I had to watch the news. I had to like talk to people, maybe get a newspaper and find out where it is. All right, I know it's in Colts Neck. I know it's at, I don't know, the farm wasn't described, right away. So I was like, all right, how can I find this? And then eventually, like, I remember driving around Colts Neck, right? Yeah, it was in Colts Neck, and then I just gave up. But I remember being like really excited to go see this.
See, like my only thing with this, like, because this one was a hoax, obviously.
Yeah, it turned out to be a hoax. This was a dumbbell type formation centered on a circle with two standing rings, outer ring as like a half circle, and it does look almost. I wouldn't consider this like a dumbbell. It almost looks like there's just a big ball in the middle.
It almost looks like an earth with like a ring around it, and like on the outside of the rings, it's like two.
Yeah, there's
little
just
circles.
this big long stick that looks like the dumbbell part.
What amazes me though is how like nice they look from the air,
They do.
even though this is a hoax.
Yeah, it turned out to be a hoax, and that's what they said in the paper later on. And I wish this association, maybe we could reach out to them one day and do like a follow-up show or
Sure.
anything. But I wonder what this independent crop circle researchers they do anything with this, because it doesn't say anything.
Like how they make it or anything
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And this is what is weird to me too with crop circles in general. It says, all right, this gentleman who does, like I guess went out there and researched or whatever.
Mm.
They found, there's like a side note here, that they had high concentration of magnetic particles in the formation.
Sure.
So
Could that be just in the soil or something? I don't know.
well, yeah, this is what I wanted to dive deeply into, like doing this crop circle, research and things, just for, how far back it really goes.
Sure.
And, all the documentaries like History Channel, Discovery Channel, there's been tons of it, right? So some of the history itself, it does date back to like the 1600s. And there was a great article, and it almost kind of debunked it. So there's this article that was written in the 1700s. I think it was like 1678, right?
Mhm.
There was a
Yeah.
pamphlet where in the pamphlet it said like the mowing devil. And then a lot of people speculate or say like this is the actual origins of crop circles. And it was an English woodcut, and that depicts of a mowing devil. And in the story it just says like this gentleman said, he had a dispute with a local farmer, and he said, "I don't want you to cut my like fields. I'd rather have the devil himself cut it." And then a lot of people point like, "Oh my God, it looks like crop circles." But if you look closely at the actual woodcut and the pamphlet that was in the newspaper, it doesn't look like a crop circle.
No, it doesn't.
And a lot of researchers said, later on too, it doesn't depict a crop circle. It almost, it depicts more of like stalks just being cut down.
Yeah, it does.
It's not like, or something landed here, something actually like cut this, because it's not like an actual circle that you actually see. It's more of like a cut. So that's kind of like where every documentary
Starts.
and everybody starts off with that one, you know, pamphlet or newspaper that comes back from 1678, which is it's fascinating, but it's no more, realistic than anything else. And like there's tons of stories too, which I found from crop circles. I mean, you can go back to that same thing, like the mowing devil, and then you go back to even like 1686,
Sure.
where they talked about where they found like rings or arches in different kind of fields, and they also talk about fairy rings.
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me a lot of like the Nazca lines in South America.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too because I did watch a whole documentary.
Because like that's basically just like crop circles, but within like the sand.
Yeah, it's like either on rock formations,
Yeah.
or yes, in like big open plains on the side of mountains. And
Yeah, in Peru.
these ones are crazy too. And there was a whole documentary that correlated like half of it was crop circles, half of it was the Nazca lines.
Yeah.
And the one gentleman, I forget what documentary it was. I think it was on the History Channel, which I watched. And he made actually like a really good, I guess you would say it's like a parallel or a really discovery on the Nazca lines. He said if you actually look at some of the Nazca lines, like they all correlate with water
Yes, they do.
somehow.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. He goes, "This is just a theory of his, and just from his research." And he's been researching this for like 30 something years. He said, I don't know his name. I'll have to look up the documentary that it was on. But he said they all correlate with water. And just like we name our, rivers and bodies of water today, he said the same thing. Like back in the day, they had no way of just saying like, "All right, here I'm drawing a map and handing it out to everybody."
Yeah, they had to depict stuff.
Yeah, so they made these big depictions, like, "Oh, this is the monkey," or
But
"This is like the spider."
What amazes me though about these like Nazca lines as well is like how intricate they are and how like perfectly detailed they are,
Well, that's the same thing with like.
and how they lasted for so like hundreds of years.
Trust me, I get it, and it's also like what amazes me about crop circles, and there's a lot of different theories on this, right? Because you could actually go back to, a lot of people say the geometric, the like the shape of the crops itself and like the cutting,
Yeah.
they were created because of inspirations from other things.
Which I get.
And there's two gentlemen, and mainly this takes place in like if you look at all the reports and the research, it was all around like England.
Yeah.
Like so in that area in Europe, like that's where the majority of the crop circles and sightings were coming from. And there was two gentlemen that later came out in 1991
Yeah, I remember that.
named Doug Bauer and Dave Corley
Yes.
from Southampton, England, and they confessed to over 200 crop circles, which was inspired by the Tully 1966 UFO, the Nest incident. So it does have ties, and they said, like in their interview, and we could pull up their interview, and it's pretty extensive, and it was interesting to read, because when they said like when they got the idea from, they just saw this, story that was in the paper, and they said, all right, well, we got our inspiration from the actual incident that where, the newspaper showed this circle
Sure.
that was in crops, and it like probably fascinated them. And it would be a good starting point, right?
It would be. Yeah, I think it would be. But the only thing I would say, like, especially like back then, like without computers and everything, like now you see like corn mazes and cornfields, like they can make pretty much anything, like, lay it out on the computer and then that can actually do it.
Yeah.
But to actually like some of the works that they did, like are very intricate.
No, they are intricate, and like just to think too, like when you look at some of these, and we're looking at pictures on Google right now. I have it up on like the big screen, but just some of these are so amazing. Obviously, some of them are, done for,
Yeah, just
art. A lot of people believe, these are just done just art, but it's like no one can see them unless you're
in the air.
above.
Yes.
So it raises the question, all right, if they did come out around, like the time that they did say, like in the 60s, 70s, like it was very prevalent in the 70s
Sure.
and pretty much almost up till the 90s. Then after the 90s, it
It
kind
kind
of
of died.
did,
Yeah, died down.
yeah, die down a little bit. But, and there was a lot of, inspiration, they said, too, from creating these. There was, I guess, this movie that came out in 1974.
Phase 4.
Yeah, where they said, the kind of same thing. There was pranksters, and like they started the phenomena of like crop circles, geometric shapes, and things like that. And it wasn't, yeah, I guess the term crop circle itself too was actually attributed to Colin Andrews in the late 70s. So it has an interesting history.
It does.
And if you look at it, like very,
But they see, like, they all have to go back to, a starting point.
yeah, some of them I couldn't imagine like doing some of these.
No, I can't.
And like how perfect they are.
Exactly.
Like when you really do, like I could see some of them nowadays,
Well,
like
yeah, 'cause
very
you got
computer
computer.
generated.
But like something like that, right?
Yeah, and this was the famous one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find out the name of it because I do forget
Like,
it.
how long would it take you to fucking do that?
All night, maybe sometimes like weeks.
It has to.
I mean, Dave and Doug talked about when they did this. Sometimes they did even come back,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't really notice it unless you were walking the fields, and all of a sudden you came to like a big opening,
Yeah.
and then you said to yourself like, all right, what the hell happened here? All like my crops are destroyed,
Mm-hmm.
or unless you were passing by overhead.
Correct.
Like there was really no way. Like I can't just look out the window and be like, oh yeah,
Yeah. It's
my
crop circle.
my
Yeah, you
crops
can't.
are fucked up, and there must be a crop circle. I mean, but there is a lot of people too, which does raise some questions. I mean, there's a lot of different theories that are floating around on the internet. Like, is it paranormal?
Mm-hmm.
Is it weather related?
Sure.
Does it have something to do with like Earth's energy,
Well,
or is it just humans?
when that theory, like Earth's energy or paranormal, brings me to it's a forest in Russia, I think. The dead forest, like there's a dead spot, in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. Like no vegetation like grows there, no plants or anything. It's just barren, like in the middle of the forest. So that's what I think about. Like, is there something that happens like in the soil or in the, I don't know.
Well, a lot of people do attribute it, and like just doing the research in itself, they talk about just the different types of soil, like the pH levels, like the concentration of certain like energy.
Sure.
Like they said, it sometimes like I read in articles like high magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them really state that, all right, some of these are just too
Perfect.
like outlandish
Yeah.
that there's no way like a human can do it. And just the way like the stalks are actually bent, and they're only bent at a certain like when I was
Degree.
really fascinated about this was I remember in the heyday when I was like, oh man, crop circles are real, like UFOs are real, like this is a connection. It was like, all right, the stalks are bent at a 90-degree angle. It doesn't look like any humans were in here. There's a high concentration of certain, sulfur, magnesium, all these different, there's trace elements,
Mm-hmm.
High energy. There's something going on here
Yeah.
that actually is making this not just human, like when speculation would come out.
Sure, like that people would like do with boards or
Yeah.
2x4s or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's not like, oh, I'm just walking here and I find footprints, and I was just typing in like the one, like the most famous, crop circle. And this came in 2001 in a remote area in England.
Milk Hill, England.
Yeah, and it was an elaborate design composed of 409 circles that formed a pattern called the double or six-sided. I'm not gonna-
Scale line.
Yeah, tricycle line, tricycle.
Tricycle.
It's
Yeah.
a tricycle, something like that.
Yeah. Interlocking spirals. Yeah.
And this one, it's a what? This massive 780 foot,
800 foot.
238 meters, this crop circle. And this one a lot of people point to that says like this is the one.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe it was a hoax, and because a lot of information that comes out in some of these, it says that most of these are done by like roadways or like markers or monuments, You know, so like humans have access to some of these parts, but then it's like also, you know, one of the theories is, all right, is aliens marking territories like landing spots or hot spots
Sure.
in you know, like the Earth. But then why are a majority of them happening in England?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You know, obviously we've seen a lot too. Like we pulled up the list from the stuff that just happened in New Jersey, and we rattled off like what, 10 of them.
Yeah. Look at the Port Monmouth one, 1970, July 4th.
So this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this one goes. This is the website we're looking at, Independent Crop Circle Researchers Association. I'm gonna link this into the actual show notes, so if people want to look this up.
Yeah, because this one was like discovered after like a ball of light
And
was,
that was another big
was
thing.
traced. And then they went out into the field, and there was like it looks like almost like a wheat field.
Yeah, it doesn't look like your typical crop
Corn,
circle.
yeah, it doesn't.
It just looks like it was almost like blown over by like the wind. But that's another thing. Like there's a lot of theories too. Like people see anomalies.
Yeah,
Like either people see like discs
they
or
do
like
see anomalies associated with the crop circles.
yeah,
Yes.
like ball of lightning, like you said.
So is it like that's like could be like another theory? Is it just a ball of lightning that comes down like that? You know, like because what they say, like the ball of lightning can come inside your house.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people attribute it to, I mean, just going back to like shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost
Sure.
Hunters. They talk about like ball lightning on some shows. Like a lot of documentaries that have to do attributed to ghost
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah, like ball lightning or maybe downdrafts like within the Earth's atmosphere, like almost like a mini tornado.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I mean, like if you saw like let's say one night you had a field.
And I just saw a ball of lightning. I'd be freaked out.
No, you saw like a ball of light just hovering around, then you go out the next morning and your crops are pushed down like in a circle. Like I mean, that's pretty freaky.
Yeah, I would definitely think there was something to it more so than like, all right, this was just like man made.
Yeah.
You know, then I would say like, all right, well, I saw this. I saw an object. I saw a ball of lightning, and then happens to be like this perfect circle.
I mean, this gets back to the question, right? Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe in UFOs? Because if you do,
I do.
okay, then like you have to assume that crop circles are real. Like how else would you navigate?
I mean, if they have the technology, like, see, this is where I was trying to think, like, and it started to lose some interest with me.
Okay.
Is, all right, if they have this technology, I'm sure they have some type of navigation.
I'm sure they do,
that
too.
supersedes anything. They don't need signs.
But like if you wanted to mark though,
But I mean,
if certain things are important, like you don't know what they are.
no, I get it too. Like, think about when we drive our car. Even though we have GPS, there's still signs on the road.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, I get that. And let's see, I think it was this in the same article that I was reading too. Let me try to find it because it talks about like crop circles. Oh, yes. This guy in 2000, Colin Andrews, who does research on crop circles for 17 years, stated that while he believed that 80% of crop circles were man made, that the remaining 20% of the circles, are just unexplained.
Sure.
Whether he said it is explained by different degrees and shifts in the Earth's magnetic field, or if it was created by something extraterrestrial.
So wouldn't like here would be my own one counterpoint to like the Earth's magnetic field or energy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you see it in like tall grasses then, or like your front lawn or anything like?
Like if it touched down.
Yeah, if it touched down.
Well, a lot of people do. I mean, I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries,
Yep.
and they talked about like UFOs, and there's like burnt marks in the ground.
No, I'm saying like if it was from the Earth, not extraterrestrial. Let's say like
So you would see more of it elsewhere.
More of it, not just in like crop fields, like trees, like little tree bushes, stuff like that, like forests, parks, anything, like that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because then it's like, all right, are people doing it just to like play games?
If you are like, you got a lot of time on your hands, bro.
I mean, because it does take a lot, and
Yeah.
just imagine doing that at night.
Mhm.
If you're doing it at night and trying to like walk straight lines, like it is impressive.
I mean, it is impressive, but like, so I would say probably like the majority of people are probably like land surveyors.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't do too much research.
Because you can make a perfect circle. It's pretty easy.
Oh,
All
of
you gotta do
course.
is put a stake in with
Yeah.
a like a rope or a line, and then you just make the circle around that.
I mean, I would never be able to do this just because I would fuck it up.
Oh,
just like doing like circles on the lawnmower or something,
yeah, it's
and they
very
just,
simple to do.
well, it is simple, like if you got the time, but
Sure.
like just trying to put like circle, like just look at the one we looked at, 409 circles,
I mean,
like now trying to replace that out and then making those little circles into a bigger circle.
I get that, but like again, you just need a stake and a rope, and then you keep tethering it like a tether ball type deal.
No, true.
And then you can overlap different circles, like walk certain paces, just figure out how much spacing you want in between them and things like that. And then you can connect them. Like, so it is easy to do, but it just takes a shit ton of time and planning, I think.
And it's crazy to think that those, Dave and Doug actually did over 200 crop circles themselves. Like, what are they doing? Do they just get like a big kick out of it?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, I watched some interviews and it's just funny.
Yeah, I think
But
they probably just get a kick out of it. Like, that's their hobby.
and then it's, just hearing on the news like, oh my God. And then I think like some that were, because I think the one that happened in Monmouth County in 2002,
Yeah.
I think there were still some people, and I still had like when I was still into the kick of the crop circles.
They thought it was real.
Yeah, I was like, all right, even though they said it was a hoax, like no, there has to be more to this. It's definitely real, and I think some people actually do think that.
Sure.
And even if something's proven, like if that the guy Dave and Doug said, hey, like we did this one, and there's going to be some people that still say, no, this had to be done by extraterrestrials, but then there's also some people that
Don't believe in it all.
don't believe in it altogether. And I'm kind of like on the fence, with Colin Andrews, and says like, all right, there probably is like 80 to 90% that we could say like this is man made.
Yeah.
And then there's some that are just like,
Well, it's like UFOs or aliens or anything like that. Like any of these sightings, like I think like we always say, like almost like all of them can be explained,
right.
except that like one or two cases that may not be aliens or extraterrestrials. It just may be paranormal. Like it's just out of the norm. You can't explain it.
Yeah, and that was a lot of things too, like the theories that they talked about, like weather being a big one, and just like the Earth with different freak tornadoes, like we said, like ball lightning. And that's one thing, even though like reading about it, I don't understand.
It's just basically energy. Like most people think lightning starts from the sky. It's actually from the ground up.
No, yeah. And just thinking about like energy, it's floating around us all the time right now, right? Like when we say call the electrical company, have them come out, like wires are running through our house with this energy.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't see it, but it's there. So I do understand it. It's still just out of the realm for me. When I think about it, I'm like, what?
Yeah, ball lightning.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of the theories. Like, I think it's plausible. And then maybe it is some type of weather anomaly, where people do see these like ball lightning and it almost looks like an object to them.
Yeah.
And they say like, all right, there was a definitely, because you can't
describe
it.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, it's definitely a UFO. And then all of a sudden, like their yard is messed up.
Sure.
And it's like, shit, all
but
right.
yeah, like that brings me to my point before. Like you would see this more often then.
Yeah, but how often does ball, like in my lifetime, I've never seen ball lightning.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying. Like,
I've seen lightning, but not like a ball of lightning just like wiggle around. I mean, I know it's
I'm just
weird,
saying
but
it wouldn't just happen in crops then. It would happen in other places then.
yeah,
But you don't see that.
it's true. I don't know. I don't know like too much, and I'm not like a meteorologist or a scientist or anything, and I don't fully understand all the stuff that happens in the earth, and I don't think like anybody does.
Sure, they don't.
But I'm sure there's a lot of stuff underneath us that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
That, yeah, and I agree with you. I totally 100% agree with you. Like if this stuff does happen, like wouldn't we see more of that evidence-wise, than just like these crop circles? Wouldn't we see more like damage?
We would.
Instead of just like storms, maybe just like in an open field, you just have like this burnt mark that nobody can explain. And maybe there is, we just don't understand it fully.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Another thing was like the big paranormal.
UFOs just coming down, landing.
Like, what if it wasn't just UFOs? Like when they say like paranormal, could, they talk about like different ley lines within like the earth,
Yeah.
and maybe there's something there. I don't know.
That's a whole nother topic, I think.
Like hollow earth.
Yeah.
People are sending signals from below.
I don't think that's true, but yes.
Maybe it's trolls.
Trolls. I don't think so.
Tremors,
No.
and it's just them like finding their way. Yeah, I don't know. Like the whole, if it had to be paranormal, I think it would be
UFOs.
extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Like just showing the signs, because it also makes me think too. All right, just going back to the Nazca lines,
Wallabies.
wallabies.
Yeah.
Oh, it like animals.
Yeah. Animals create that? No fucking way.
Yeah, there was a theory on there that they talked about in 2009
From Australia.
from Australia where they talk about
Wallabies.
the wallabies.
The wallabies.
You know, they were found creating crop circles in fields, like in the the poppy fields, which is interesting. I would love to see video of that.
Just them just running around in circles.
I mean,
Maybe they probably ate some of the poppies and got high and just kept running around in circles.
that is true. Maybe it was. But I think about that, but I don't think they could make like these intricate, like big
No.
ass, like,
They could probably make a circle, sure.
240 meters, 800 feet wide,
Just shit
crop
ton of
circles.
wallabies, though.
That would take a lot of wallabies just running around in all
Wallabies.
circles right next to each other.
Yeah.
Do your best impersonation of
I
an
can't.
Australian
No
accent.
way.
You can't do it?
No. The only Australian, it was Crocodile Dundee.
Well, let's hear it.
Good day, mate.
That's it? All right.
I like it.
All right. What about, here's another theory that was thrown around too, like just changes in the crops themselves.
No, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
No.
So like just different.
Because then they wouldn't be in a pattern.
Why not? Everything, which is fascinating too, because like some of the most intricate things were like mathematical equations.
Correct.
And isn't like the Earth just like one big mathematical equation? Like just a way, like think about it. Like if we really think about it and just saying like, all right, like the water we drink, if it's at a certain pH level, we're balanced. You
Yeah.
know, like, and then if crops and they grow in certain pH levels.
Well, yeah,
you know,
I mean, like,
I don't think this is. It's almost like that. Not Signs. What's the other movie that he made? What was The Happening?
yeah,
Where like the trees were like killing people.
Yes.
So, as much as that movie may have sucked for a lot of people, like the theory is actually very plausible.
The theory is very plausible.
So that's why I
yes.
say, like, even though you laughed at it and said, no, I don't believe it. But I think it's very plausible that it could be something like this. Maybe there is some genetic, makeup that we don't understand that's happening in England with like the weather, with the soil that creates
It just
this,
has to be in
like,
the right conditions. Maybe.
yeah,
Sure.
maybe just all of a sudden, like, it just, what's the thing? I had to pull up a video.
What?
And I don't know what it's called, but I could probably send this, to you later, where people put sand on like a metal desk,
Sure.
and then they play,
Oh
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
hit.
And it goes in certain shapes. Yes,
Right.
I know.
So that's when
I've
I
seen
think,
that.
yeah, when I think of like, changes to crops or like something that happened to do with like the earth, I think of that. So I don't know what that's called. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know, sand pictures.
Sand table.
Yeah, I don't know, but you can Google it. Let us know if like we fucked that up. But just, I think of that. So what if there's energy that's like, like sound
so
waves?
reverberates. Yeah, I get that.
Like this weekday weird. We're doing a UFO breaks the sound barrier type thing, where like you can't explain that. There's different sounds that we don't hear. Even the like the harp.
Mm-hmm.
They were using different sound waves to like trigger whatever they were doing, whether it was like fucking with other countries, whether it was weather. I'm trying to think what else it could actually be used for. But same thing like that. If you put just sand, just like douse it over the table, and then you hit it like a like gong and
Sure.
play different music, it gets into these geometric pattern shapes. It's very even.
Yes.
Even though there is like sand that you could see, like, all right, it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's not.
So maybe it's something like this, right? Like that's what I think about. Maybe it is something like
I think 9 times out of 10 they're man-made.
you do.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I totally believe that now.
Maybe the 1% is not, but who knows?
Yeah, if I had to say anything, I do believe that it is mostly man-made.
Sure.
I mean, even just these guys coming out and how much people believed
Yeah,
that
they were
what they
real.
were making was totally genuine.
Mhm.
And even people after they came out were like, nah, they're bullshitting us. Like, they're definitely real. But like for them to come out and say like, all right, we did all this. This is how we did it.
Correct.
We did it with boards. We did it with like a wire with a hat, and we walked that straight line.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of am the same way, but I also there's a glimmer of hope that says like, all right, maybe it is something to do with the earth.
Maybe. but maybe not.
Could it be aliens? And what are they using it for? Because that brings me back to the point where, all right, the Nazca lines, right?
Yeah.
Just pulling that up and just looking at the Nazca lines. I understand that, one of the guys' theory was just saying they wanted to name a body of water, right? And they put a monkey next to it. Who the hell is going to see a monkey like this? If I was walking around.
Yeah, no, but there was on like the mountains you can go and you can look down on them.
I know some were on the side of mountains, but majority of them, like, you can see something's there if you're on the ground.
Correct.
But it just looks like almost like a big runway.
It does look like white lines.
Yeah,
in
so
the
like,
sand. Yep.
how would anybody,
I don't know.
like, dating that far back, as far back as they go,
Mm-hmm.
like some of them recreated, it says it's reported like 500 BC, like that's
how
pretty
they
far back.
communicate. Like look at cave drawings, look at anything like that.
Yeah, but
It's just on a bigger scale.
Wouldn't you just put like on a big rock something else, like something like when you walk up to it, like there's a big X on the rock, that means the water's here.
You would
Instead of
think
making
so.
these big elaborate, like some of them are bigger than the crop circles that we see today.
Yeah, they are. I mean, but look at the pyramids, right?
Yeah, but you could see them. Like,
No, but you can't see what they're really not only four-sided
I get it. I get it. When you look from like
above.
it's weird.
So like you can only see that from above, and like how would you even like?
So maybe like I know the Nazca lines are something totally different, but they are
but
shapes.
Yeah, they connect to the crop circles because they're shapes in the ground.
All right, so maybe back in the day it was like aliens or different technology, and they had this technology, and they were able to see it from the sky or however they did. Maybe they were still in like, maybe they were using some type of planes back then, like hot air balloons that we didn't know about, that didn't survive in like records.
Well, that's what like they think. That goes back to like ancient technology, right?
Yeah.
They think like the pyramids were used for like power plants,
Right.
And they think that like Easter Island, like how'd they carve all those faces
Right.
from all those rocks and how many tons and how the hell did they move them? So it goes back to like ancient technology and like we don't understand because some of the things like there was what was it, like a cave or like a pyramid, like there were like it was such a 90-degree angle and such perfect that they couldn't even recreate that today.
You're a big ancient alien guy.
I'm just saying.
No, I know. I agree with you. Like there's some things that just doesn't make sense. So, was there aliens that had their hand into helping us build some of this technology, or was it, like there was just an advanced civilization that was doing this? And then like what were they using it for?
Yeah.
And how are they seeing this? Same thing with crop circles. Like what's the point of the only way to like really appreciate it is from getting to the sky. Like it's awesome now to Google images of this.
Yep.
But like what do we need it for besides some awesome art? Like
Yeah, I don't think
when
you
you go
do.
to like a corn maze, you're not seeing how the corn maze looks. You're only seeing it from the bottom.
Correct.
Like some of the elaborate ones that have faces like pumpkins and like skeletons,
Mm-hmm.
you only have an appreciation from the sky. Is
yeah,
it?
like back in World War II, right? Or World War II. They set up things in the desert like markers
Yeah.
for like the Air Force to like practice like bombing runs and everything like that. Or there was one used by the Postal Service to like actually track of like actually where they're going across like the desert.
Yeah.
So in like 200 years, people aren't going to know what that was.
No, they're not.
So it's going to be the same thing as like the Nazca lines or the pyramids.
Well, yeah,
or any type of this.
if
thing
our
like that.
information gets lost along the way.
Correct.
If it doesn't, then people could actually like Google. Like that's what's awesome now with the technology.
Googler.
Yeah, you could just put up something on the internet and it'll come up and it'll say like, oh man, like this is interesting that we could actually look at this. But back in the day,
You couldn't.
like, yeah, think about how many people are flying nowadays than people were in the 60s.
Sure.
I mean, I know like travel was always around then, but I'm saying like not enough people were just, all right, yep, let's get in my plane and just go take a look.
Nope.
Like, so who can appreciate that? And maybe it comes back to like thinking about, we're obsessed with like above, and like the gods from above. And it's like our way of like sending thanks. So maybe like the Nazca lines themselves, like, yes, they mark bodies of water.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there was something on the ground at one point that there was a big X, but the rest were just like to appease the gods to like, say, hey, we're drawing this for you. Like, this is for you,
Yeah, maybe.
to like keep the water flowing. So that's another thing I think about. And then maybe just like with these crop circles, maybe they really are for like above, some of them. Back in the day, maybe when this was happening, their GPS wasn't what their GPS is now.
I don't know about that, but okay.
What I'm saying? Like, remember when we were like GPS
Sure,
and stuff?
Yep.
Like very first on, like now it's on our phones, but before we had to carry this device.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the same thing. Maybe they had to like, all right, we had to make these lines, these circles, but now we're so advanced we don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
So you think majority of them, 90%?
I'll tell you 90% are
90% are man-made.
Yep, man-made hoax.
All right. And what about like the rather?
The 1%?
Yeah, 1% of them.
Or 10%? I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you think it's Earth? See,
I don't think it's Earth.
I'm the same way as you. I think like
I don't think it's Earth. It's got to be like aliens or something like that. I don't think it's Earth because then you would see it more often.
all right. Yeah, I think I'm in a total agreement with you. I think like 90%, maybe even 95% are man-made, and that we could disprove them. But there is some, and I do believe it could be a mix. I don't know what aliens would use them for, just like different markings to maybe mess around with.
Yeah.
Or if it's actually, I do believe there's a small percentage that it could be, like the Earth magnetic field or something from below that we don't understand. Because we're always looking up, but what about just looking down? I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. Let us know your thoughts. Visit nightmare365.com to visit our shop. Save 25% by using the code MARRY25. Also, all of our information there. Contact if you have a story or if you want to share anything with us. Email, hit us up, matt@nightmare365.com. Also, our phone number is 732-660-8893 is our phone number. If you have a story, share with us. And make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel and hit the bell for notification. That's one way to support us. And we have our Patreon, which we're always releasing extra weekday weirds, other podcasts, and exclusive videos that we're just doing here in the studio. So make sure to check that out. And all of it can be found on our website, nightmare365.com. And enjoy the Christmas season. And until next time,
Stay spooky.